Hi, and welcome to the Bee and the Rose Knitting Podcast. I am your host, Kat. I hope everyone has had a lovely 2 weeks. It's been a minute since I recorded. I couldn't quite get myself to sit down last week. I was feeling a little overwhelmed by the fact that I didn't have any finished objects, and that is still true this week. I don't have any finished objects. The ambient background noise you're hearing today is the fan because it is 111 degrees today where I'm sitting. It is so hot. And being that my living room is upstairs, it's even hotter. Well, actually, it's just the true hotness. Like, the downstairs is nice and cool, and you open up my back door and you get a nice breeze through, and the upstairs is stagnant and gross. That's where I live. Yeah. So, I have a good amount of acquisitions today. Just after, I think the day after I uploaded my last podcast, I got 2 packages of yarn. My birthday yarn came in, and my little sister's sock yarn came in. I haven't done any spinning because if I could get my muse to do what I wanted to do all the time, I would be so productive. So productive. But even when you're doing, I have moderate depression, and most of the times it's okay. It's just this low level thing. Right now, there was a time when it was way worse, but right now it's so most of the time I can get myself to be motivated to take care of my own person and do everything that needs to be done to keep everything around me together. But some days you wake up and you're like, I want to knit, but I can't even do the thing I want to do. I can't. I'm too within my own bogged down headspace. So finding a minute to carve in the spinning, as I'm finding it really hard to do, even though especially, actually I think it's not an even though, I think it's an especially now that I am so close to the end of my bobbin. I've a battling and a half of fiber left for this project, and then it's going to be sitting down and learning how to chain ply, and that's going to be real fun. And I think that might be what's stopping me, is the chain plying. It's not a technique I've ever done before. I usually either ply the traditional way, where you have 2 bobbins of thread and then you put them together, or using a center pull ball, where you make a center pull ball with quite a large center opening, and then you take the 2 ends and ply them together. But I've never done chain plying before. It's going to be fine. I know it's going to be fine, even if I mess up terribly. No matter what I do with this project, the person who's receiving it is going to be happy with it, because it's not something they can do. Even though Maya doesn't like anything right now. She's at that age where nothing is appealing. Even when she had fun while doing an activity, she's like, it was boring. She's at that age. But 11-year-olds, they're really... So I've actually done a lot of work in the past 2 weeks. I did not finish my shawl in time for the wedding this weekend, which was sad for me, but it's something I knew I wasn't going to be able to do. So I kind of focused my energy on my mitten. I'm sorry if the table's shaking. My computer is on a TV tray that I'm resting my hands on. so that I can make hand motions just out of frame. So I focused on designing my pattern and doing the fine-tuned details of that, and I'm going to show you where I'm at with that, where the fruits of my labor have gotten me. I can't remember exactly where we were last time. I don't think I remembered to put a progress keeper in. I think I'd just cast on the cuff. Let me try and make this presentable. Here we go. These are not on needles, and my stitches aren't on any kind of waste yarn either. So this is what we have so far. I think I just finished the ribbing on the cuff. I've got a nice cable up the side of my pinky, and then I've got my thumb on waste yarn, and I had split for the detail that I'm doing on the, I don't know what you would call this. It would be the fingers, but they're not individual fingers. It's just going to be like kind of a second cuff, but no ribbing. What had happened was I'm decreasing so that I'm kind of binding off where the pinky is, because I only want it to come so far up on my pinky because I'm going to be using these while I knit. And as we know, pinky is important to be free. It must be free. And I have really short fingers. Well, at least I have a short thumb and a short pinky. So I'm trying to bind that off. And I had started to just knit two together on all of the stitches because it had been getting high to where I wanted it to be on my finger as on my other fingers as well. But I realized that because I was knitting two together over here on these ones as well, it was doing that curve thing. So I ripped that back, and I didn't go all the way back to the picked up stitches, but which I'm not going to do in my other hand. I think I know how to avoid needing to bind off when you're finished with the body and then picking up stitches, because my beginning was over here on this hand, and the detail, the detail of it coming apart from itself is over here on the other side. So I had to bind off and then pick up 64 stitches in order to create that detail, and I know how to avoid that. And I'm going to try, I think I know how to avoid that. I'm going to demo it when I'm done with this one with the left-handed glove. And I did gusset this in such a way that I can't wear this glove with my left hand because the gusset is on one side. And I think that if you gusset it in the middle instead of leaning, then you'll be able to have gloves that it doesn't matter which hand you're wearing them on. But I did not do that with these, so I'm not going to do that with the other one either. Hopefully, if I remember, so that they'll just be matching. And I'm pretty happy with these. A little frustrated with the top of them, but I figured it out. That's my work in progress this week. My other whip is my shawl, and I have picked it up again and started working it again this week. And the pattern is incomplete. All the information is there in the file, but it's not together. I'm using the written pattern, and where Kitman Figueroa, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that last name, but they wrote out they did charts, and then they wrote out what was on the charts, so that if you don't read charts, you can follow a written pattern. Well, there's a lot of nuggets of information in between the charts that are not included in the written pattern. And then there's a part just before chart 4 that is like missing, just completely missing a tidbit of information that you need in order to properly make the pattern. And 5 other people have done fine with this pattern as written, as far as I'm aware. However, I don't appreciate that this paid pattern is kind of incomplete and all over the place, and I'm kind of wondering how many people she had test this pattern. They had test this pattern out before publishing it, because it's just not what I would have gone with. Like, if you have a chart section, a part where your pattern is fully charted, and then the part where it's written, you need to have the information in both parts. I shouldn't have. And so the key for the charts is down at the bottom after the written pattern, because it goes the charts, the written pattern, and then the key for the charts. And I don't usually print out my patterns. I read them on my computer so that I can, my PDF reader has the ability to highlight. So I like to highlight where I am and move it around and then delete it so that it's nice and fresh for the next time I want to do the pattern. So I don't really like that I have to scroll all the way. If I were to read the charts, I have to scroll all the way to the bottom in order to find the key. I just don't appreciate that. But the object is gorgeous. So it's just, when you have a pattern, read the whole thing before you start. Because luckily there are some things that I knew I had like gone over the pattern, and I knew that some of these tidbits weren't included in the written, and I was aware of that as I approached them, and I still I'm almost done. I had been almost finished with chart 5, which is the last chart, when I realized that not all pieces were included in this puzzle. So I'm having to rip back to chart 4 and redo it, and hopefully correctly. Did we lose any stitches? A little. This is going to be messy. So this is where I'm at with this. And then up here is kind of the middle section that you work on during chart 4 and 5. The problem is like in chart 4, she says you are supposed to be going from the full thing to short rows in order to construct the top of your shawl, and they're not short rows. Like, the lace is only included in a certain part of the shawl, but as far as I can tell, you're not binding off any. It's just it's a little frustrating, and I can figure it out. I think I have figured it out, but like I paid, I think it's like £5.50. That's not how you say that. That might be how you say that. I don't know. And the pound is doing better than the dollar right now, so I paid a little bit more than that. And it's just kind of, I paid for this pattern and it's not written the most eloquently, which I understand is going to happen, but come on. That's enough of that rant. I'm just going to put this needle away before a brownie steals it. Okay, so 2 acquisitions. Let's get into the meat and bones of this. So for my birthday, my mom bought me 2 skeins of, hold on, I gotta look it up on my phone. 2 skeins of yarn from El Mono, who is a lovely indie dyer in Carolina, I want to say. I absolutely adore her work, and this year she put out an entire line of, it's by Mono. The store name is by Mono, and she's in South Carolina. And this year she put out an entire line inspired by Dia de los Muertos, which is coming up. I'm so excited. I know I won't get the full 3 days off, but I have Halloween off, which is the first night of Dia de los Muertos. It's also Samhain. Lots of holidays for me on Halloween, because you have Halloween, which America in general as a culture participates in, and then you have Samhain, which I participate in as a witch, and then Dia de los Muertos, which I participate in as Mexican. And this is Sugar Skull. Calaverita. It's so pretty. Oh my god. And Mom did not ask me what base I wanted it on, and Mom knows nothing about bases. So she got the single ply sparkly base, which I was so happy about. I was looking at Fancy Monkey, which I think is her. I'm gonna go to my phone real quick. Yeah, which is the merino cashmere nylon blend. So I was looking at that one because, oh my god, cashmere and so soft. Holy moly. But where's my camera? There it is. Look at all these speckles. Oh my god. I just love all the colors that are included in this. And she bought me 2 skeins of this. So it's the Tiny Monkey base, which is 95% merino and percent stellina. It's single ply. So I have about 800 yards. Holy mo! One more twist. Little bit more. I'm still not very good at putting skeins back together. But I think I could have twisted that up more. And then this is the second one. I'm not going to undo it. But look at that purple. Oh my god. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can see some shinies in there. And what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to make it into a shawl. And I'm going to be I'm going to be doing a few papel picado, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing right because my Spanish is really bad. Tragic backstory. But I'm going to be doing those motifs for it using that. And then I'm going to try and get my hands on some of her deadly flowers in the shiny monkey base as well. And so I'm going to have the papel and then line it with crochet carnations. Because, hold on, I get a little bit emotional when talking about Dia de los Muertos because it is the celebration of those who have passed. It's your ancestors and your loved ones. I don't have that many people other than, my basic ancestors like that I knew personally, but there are a few who I miss. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to cry right now. But orange carnations are the flower of the dead. So I think it's going to be really pretty. And it won't be ready for this year. It's definitely ready for next year to wear at the Presidio. Woo! Emotions. Let's feel them. Okay. Whew, still sad. Well, not sad, but that feeling where you're like, yeah, sad's okay. It's okay to be sad. You miss people. And then I have received all of my sister's sock yarns. So I have 4 sisters. If you're new to the podcast, I have, I have 4 sisters and stepsister, but we didn't grow up together, so we're not that close. But I have 4 sisters, and I have 1 older sister and 3 little sisters. And this year for Christmas or Yule, because only one of us celebrates Christmas, I am knitting them socks. And that's my spinning project right now is I'm spinning up unicorn yarn for my youngest sister for her socks. So we're still working on her yarn, but it's in progress. And we've received everyone else's yarns. So I literally just got this before recording. But this is my older sister Rhiannon's sock yarn, and she chose a blue yarn from Wet Belly Fibers, who's based out of Virginia. Good for her for picking something that's based out of the U.S. That was something I asked of my sisters, and only 2 of them provided. Well, actually, Bridget was like, but we'll talk about that. So this is 50% merino, 25% superfine alpaca, and 25% nylon. And it's going to make really nice short socks. I'm talking about like no-show socks because Rhiannon doesn't like anything covered. She wears a lot of ballet flats, so she likes no-show socks. So I'm going to make her at least 1 pair of that out of this beautiful yarn. It's got a nice little bit of a halo. It is definitely tonal and a little bit lighter than the picture, but that's to be expected with hand-dyed yarns. It's 438 yards, so that is plenty, and I'm probably going to get a memory square out of it, and then probably even another pair of shorter socks for her. It took her the longest to pick out a yarn. Oh yeah, that was the sound of Victoria getting back to me about her Instagram. Victoria, of course, is the dyer behind Wet Belly Fibers. Yeah, so it took her the longest to pick out a yarn because I don't think she was feeling it because she didn't have a sock. She didn't connect with the sock idea because I told her flat out I couldn't do very short socks because I hadn't seen any. But then I was watching either Yarn for Brains or possibly oh god, what is their podcast name? I only know their Instagram. Dragon. Hold on. Possibly the Dragon Horde Yarn podcast, her podcast. I was watching either their podcast or Yarn for Brains, and they had mentioned that they were doing shorty socks, no-show socks for one of their siblings, and so I think it must have been the Dragon Horde, but I'm not sure. I don't know. And that made me aware that there were patterns out there for no-show socks. And then as soon as I showed Rhiannon no-show socks, like the next day, she'd picked out her yarn. So I think that really helped for her to know that she was going to get something she liked, which is good. Then the other one we have is Bridget. She's my almost youngest sister. In her bloodline, she is the youngest. Because I have a million parents. So many parents. You know, you gotta love blended families. And she picked out this Guatemalan sock yarn that posts out of New Jersey. There's a lot of drama on Etsy about Guatemalan artists having their work stolen. So I'm not really sure how ethical these are, but I'm going to hope. It says it's at Atitlan Sock. Keep it in the color Paz. I thought this was going to be greener. It's a gray color. I thought this was going to be a little bit greener. And I am going to be doing the evergreen sock out of these ones. So it's going to have a nice tree line on it. It's going to be good. It appears to be high twist, and it's 100% superwash merino, so no nylon content, but really high twist. Like I can see the twists in it, so I think it'll be okay. It is a little toothy, but I'm hoping. Let's see. I have Euclid wash, so it might soften up when I wash them, and hopefully Bridget won't mind the toothiness on her feet. And then we have Moira, who failed at getting American sock yarn. She went to an online store called Alpaca Direct. They're based out of Indiana. Their about says that they showcase their alpaca's yarn. So my little sister, who does not know very much about the industry, assumes she's going to get some American-based yarn out of this place. But they're a yarn shop. They sell many things, more than just their own. And so she bought Jawool. This is a very well-traveled yarn. This yarn is farmed in Chile and then processed in Italy, and then it is shipped to Sweden, and then it is shipped to the US, and then to me. This yarn's been everywhere. Everywhere. It is 75% virgin wool and 25% nylon. It has this little QR code so that you can actually find out what kind of sheep they're using. I can't remember exactly what. And this is nice because one of the things, it feels good. It's not as toothy as Bridget's pick. So it's good for skin contact. And it comes with enough yarn to knit up a pair of socks, and then it also has about 10 grams of darning yarn thread. So it's good for repairs. That's the word. So yeah, I was a little upset that it's so well traveled, but as long as Moira likes it, that is what matters here. So that is all of my yarn stuff. Let's see. I also picked up a book this week. Now I began crocheting in 2015 due to a foot injury. I broke my foot and needed something to do with my hands to keep my brain occupied, which worked mostly. And then I learned how to knit last year, and I used to read quite avidly. When I was a kid, I would read quite a bit on my own, and then you also have your required reading for school in America. And I was that student that the teachers would have to tell me to put down the required reading so I could work on other things. So I really enjoyed reading. And I enjoyed reading as an adult. as well. When I first moved back home, I had about 3 or 4 books that I was reading. I would hop between them. Um, and then I moved back up to Carlsbad, and I found Kat Winter's work, and she's an amazing writer from Anaheim, and she writes paranormal historical fiction, which I really enjoy. Um, but once I picked up a crochet hook and then knitting needles, more so with the knitting needles, I found I have to choose between where I put my time, between I have to either read or knit. I can't do both. So I have not read a book and finished it in 2 years. Um, Kat Winter's Uninvited was the last book I read, and it's this lovely story about this woman who lives in a small Illinois town during World War One, during the Spanish influenza, and it's really good, really good. Um, but I have not had the time to read anything else because I'm spending all of my time knitting or spinning. So I'll I would like to think that I would do the audiobook, but that's expensive. So I don't tend to listen to audiobooks either. And don't tell me to get a library card, because I still have a library book that's checked out from a year ago. And I owe a lot of money to them for that. I'm terrible with library cards. I'm the worst. I think I still have a book from when I was in elementary school, from my school's library. So, yeah, I'm not allowed to have a library card. Although, an e-reader, it's just digital. I just have to not get the physical book. They'll take it back themselves. It's an e-reader. I'm not going to go into the logistics of it. The answer is no. But I did pick up a book. I was going to Walmart, and John Green, I've read everything he's written except Paper Towns. I've not finished Paper Towns. It was one of the ones that fell to the wayside when I started crocheting. But he just came out with the book Turtles All the Way Down. I was walking through the Walmart yesterday, and I found a signed copy. So I went ahead and I bought this. I'm about a chapter and a half in, and I will hopefully finish it. I'll hopefully actually sit down and read it. It's just another one of those things I have to carve the time out for. You know how well I am at that. I'm really good at it. But I really like his work. I really enjoy him and Hank Green's podcast, Vlogbrothers. I started watching those back in 2011, and that was the turning point for me. Before that, YouTube was just there for music videos, right? Just to listen to your music, and AMVs. I'm gonna age myself. AMVs, anime music videos. But after when, by the time I started watching them, they'd already been vlogging for 4 years. And then once I started watching the Vlogbrothers, I started watching Zay Frank, who, is the godfather of podcasting. He's the one who started all of this. I think him and Lonely Girl 15, her being the first scripted TV show on YouTube, turned the corner for the industry into a place where we can, totally go on to YouTube and record a little bit about our lives for 5 minutes to an hour and a half, or 2 hours if you have a co-host. And that's something normal to YouTube. But I really enjoy the Vlogbrothers. I I loved since 2011 when it came out. It's amazing. I'm really enjoying Crash Course Mythology right now. I like hearing about all of the world's mythos. It's great to see all these common threads along human history. Whoops. Getting a little nostalgic for humans and our hive minds. And I just threw my phone. Oopsies. And then Hank Green and John Green also have the Project for Awesome, which is coming up, which is where you put out a video for a charity that you like, and the video, the charity is the most views, I think it is, get a piece of the pie, because they've been they're always collecting money for Project for Awesome, and you can pledge donations, and depending on what level you get prizes for that. It's really cool, and it's just this great idea, this decrease world suck. So I'm always into what Hank and John Green are doing, and I'm really excited for Hank's book that will be coming out in the next few years. I know he's writing it, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm just really glad to read their stuff. I think that is all I have for this week. Wet Belly Fibers, I noticed, also sells naked yarn, berry yarn. So I'm probably going to try and get a hold of that so that I can do this thing I've been saying I'll do for a while, which is dyeing. The bank is empty. I have nothing. The coffers are empty. I've spent all my money on yarn, and I'm probably going to have to go on a forced no-budget yarn diet for a little bit. Hopefully November will be plentiful. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Be safe on Halloween. If you have outdoor cats, bring them in. Don't leave your dogs outside. Teenagers are not the nicest people when they are given permission to be animals. So just keep your cats indoors. If you don't have a cat and you have a neighborhood cat that you know does not have a home, try to pull them inside for the evening. Just keep them safe. All right, you guys have a good week. I will see you next week.